Hillary Clinton's team sends a message before the Between Two Ferns interview. The instruction is simple. Do not bring up the emails. Zach's response is 4 words. Well, we don't have to. They blinked. He didn't.
This has been a lot of fun, Mrs. Clinton. We should stay in touch. What's the best way to reach you? Email?
Fine, but the comedy has to come first. I remember when I interviewed Hillary Clinton, and I could tell she didn't want to be there, and I totally get that. I get it. But before we had set that whole thing up, they wrote back, well, you can't bring up those emails. And I go, well, we don't have to do the interview. That's fine. We won't do it.
Yeah.
When you tell powerful people no, it's crazy. They were like, okay, we'll do it. Well, you can ask.
Yeah.
Because it's not that important to me to do it the way they want to do it. You have to, if you're going to come in a comedy, you got to do the way we want to do it.
How did the guys with 10 times his audience, the ones who call themselves free speech absolutists, manage to do the exact opposite of this? Zach Galifianakis is not a fringe figure. The Hangover trilogy, over $1.4 billion in global box office. Between Two Ferns, a cultural institution since the mid-2000s, distributed by Netflix, parroted everywhere. His Obama interview, 2015, produced to promote healthcare.gov, did something no political interview before it had done. It made a sitting president look human by letting him be the butt of a joke. It was watched tens of millions of times.
First question. In 2013, you pardoned a turkey. What do you have planned for 2014?
We'll probably pardon another turkey. We do that every Thanksgiving. Was that depressing to you, seeing one turkey kind of taken out of circulation, a turkey you couldn't eat?
You said if you had a son, you would not let him play football. What makes you think that he would want to play football? What if he was a nerd like you?
Do you think a woman like Michelle would marry a nerd? Why don't you ask her whether she thinks I'm a nerd?
Could I?
No, I'm not going to let her near you.
His Hillary Clinton interview followed the same logic. He had the most powerful people in the world on his show, and he made them play by comedy's rules, not the other way around. He was never a culture warrior. He wasn't trying to be a journalist. He was just a comedian who happened to be brilliant at making powerful people look ridiculous, and they loved him for it. Then 2024 happened, and comedy podcasters with platforms Zach couldn't dream of got their shot, and they did something completely different. And Rogan couldn't ask Trump a single uncomfortable question. It's the glitched system, and this is why Joe Rogan forgot he was a comedian. Rogan's rise is real and specific. From Fear Factor host to underground MMA commentator to podcasting pioneer, the JRE became the most downloaded podcast in the world. Schulz built millions of followers on the back of a raw, unfiltered comedy persona. Theo Von carved a niche as the chaotic everyman of stand-up. These were not small people. Their combined audience at the time of the Trump podcasts was easily 50+ million. Rogan and Schulz declared Trump the funniest president of all time and suggested he could be a comedian in another lifetime. These are podcasters, not comedians. The long-form format rewards access over accountability. The closer you get to power, the harder it becomes to punch up. By the time 2024 rolled around, the 3 biggest comedy podcasters in the world had the President of the United States sitting across from them. Everything they'd ever built had been leading to this moment. The question was, would they do their job? The Trump podcasts produced 0 jokes. Not one. Across multiple hours of JRE with Trump, Schulz's interview, and Theo Von's sit-down. Not a single bit, not a moment of comic friction, not one uncomfortable question. Zach's Obama interview, side by side, where the president is called a nerd, where his pardon of the Thanksgiving turkey is mocked, where the format itself creates comedy through deliberate rudeness. That interview had 45 minutes of material. It contained more accountability than all 3 Trump podcasts combined.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it. I won't go into it, but I do think that was particularly helpful to you when you did your famous Between Two Ferns interview with Obama, because you're the only person that gave him, I mean, you know, I know that this in any way was just you doing your comedy, but you were so rude as that person. Right. And it's hilarious because I don't think anyone's talked to, certainly a sitting president, or even in this time, no one's talked that way.
Well, all
to
the
a
podcasters
president
that have had the president on now, they don't do their court gesture. They don't do it. They just, they suck up to him.
Yeah.
So the comedians that have had, that are podcasters that have had Trump on, they're not doing their job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the job of a comedian. You are to challenge.
Yeah.
You are to make uncomfortable. You're not to sit there and fake laugh.
Yep.
That is not the job of the court jester.
Yeah.
Period. So there is a difference. People were actually, somebody yesterday was talking to me about that, about, you know, political influence through comedy and all that stuff. I'm more interested in the comedy first.
Me too.
You know.
Yeah.
Do you feel at all implicated by having Obama on Between Two Ferns?
Implicated?
In so much as like that, to some people might be like, is this a real interview? What is this doing? Is this comedy or is this mess? In so much as it is a sort of abstract space of not clear lines of, is this entertainment or is this a political message?
It's tough now because the podcasters have become just ass kissers for the politicians, right? They don't challenge them. They just like, yeah, that's cool, right? And that I don't want to do. Like, we challenged Obama.
Yeah.
We made it uncomfortable for him in a way that was done for comedic effects. Yes, so he could get his message off for healthcare. Yes, that was a thing that he was doing. But I first need to entertain people. That's my whole thing. And to see a goofy comedian with a very well-respected gentleman that's our president, I mean, it kind of writes itself already. So
the internet noticed immediately. The phrase propaganda slop started circulating. Comment sections filled with variations of, I thought these were comedy podcasts? But it wasn't just that they failed to be funny. It was why they failed. And that's where it gets interesting. Zach defines it precisely on the Conan podcast. The comedian is the court jester. The job is to challenge, to make uncomfortable, to never sit there and fake laugh for the powerful. The Rogansphere's response to this standard is immediate and total failure. Not because they had a bad day, but because they compare their role to being a philosopher, not a jester. They took themselves too seriously to do comedy. They didn't fail at the job. They redefined the job so they couldn't fail at it. The court jester thing Zach said broke my brain. That's literally the oldest job in the world, and they couldn't do it. The comparison is now visceral. Obama takes the joke. He calls himself a nerd. He lets Zach be rude to him. He looks human and likable. Trump's podcasters produce hours of content where the subject rambles unchallenged, pivots unchallenged, makes claims unchallenged. Conan O'Brien even notes that the Obama interview reflected well on the president. Being willing to be mocked is humanizing. The Trump podcasts did the opposite. They made Trump look like a man whose handlers had pre-approved the conversation.
Also, I see this all the time, and I've seen it for years and years and years and years. People not understanding that if they go to the supposedly vulnerable place and have a sense of humor about it, it is magical for them. People see they have a sense of humor. They see that they can take a joke. I mean, no one walked away from your interview with Obama and thought, wow, you really showed him. He got to be hilarious. He sat there and entered your world of, you know, being intentionally ignorant about who he is, what he does, cutting him off, being insanely rude, and gave it back to you in equal measure. And you looked at it and you thought, this is a great piece of comedy. And I know it reflects well back on the president. And our current president would do well to understand that, you know, if he let himself be the butt of the joke,
it's impossible.
It's humanizing. I know it is impossible.
You wouldn't do it with him.
It wouldn't work. No.
It wouldn't work.
And then others would say, oh, he rambled. I don't ramble. If I saw the story, what you do is you weave things and you do it. You have to have certain things. You need an extraordinary memory because you have to come back to where you started.
Yes.
You always, a weave is only good if
They
you
would give
come
you credit
back.
for that.
Yeah, it's true.
That you could go all the way over here and then
I
get
can
back.
go so far here or there, and I can come back to exactly where I started. Now, someday when you don't come back to where you started,
You're Biden.
then you say,
one of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like you get out and you do these huge events, and you're just talking and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like you and you were making fun of Elon one time. You were doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, "You'd be in jail." Like it's great timing.
Yeah.
But it's like that kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like no one had done that. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you're you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering.
he has one ability I don't have.
Yeah.
He sleeps. He can sleep. This guy goes on a beach and he lays down on one of those, 6 ounce. They weigh 6 ounces and he can't lift it.
Yeah.
They're meant. No, they're meant for. But with life, it takes a lot longer to find out the end
Come to
result.
fruition.
I'm sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you, but we said you're a great father up top. First thing you say is, I've got great kids. You didn't take credit. And then your entire answer, and I thought this was really cool, your entire answer is about how great your kids are. That was a very cool thing.
Thank you. That's very nice. I think I like this interview. I think
That's a genuine.
I think he's right.
It was-
And by the way, congratulations. I hear your show is is crazy monster success.
We're doing
Congratulations.
pretty good. We're very we're interviewing presidents.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's really good.
One format built trust. The other built a fan club. Zach was told not to mention the emails. He said no interview. Her team folded. Now apply that same logic to Rogan, Schulz, and Theo Von. It's most likely the case that Trump's team gave them a list of things to talk about. They never mentioned the Epstein files. They never mentioned anything genuinely uncomfortable. And they're free speech absolutists. The irony is structural, not incidental. Zach drew a line and held it. They drew no line at all. After helping elect Trump, providing massive platforms, generating genuine enthusiasm, vouching for him as a person, the same podcasters reversed when his policies landed. This isn't about changing your mind maturely. Trump was in office doing these same things for 4 years before those podcast appearances. They knew. They chose access anyway. Then when the heat came, they pivoted to save face. You can change your mind, or you can manage your reputation. They were doing the second one. Zach articulates the math of comedy. Punching down at marginalized groups doesn't work. Not morally, not structurally, not mathematically. The reason the Rogansphere can't punch up is that they're friends with the powerful. They've been invited to the table. You cannot roast the host.
There's also the math of comedy to me sometimes where the punching down that the right seems to do some, and I don't want to get political here, but that's not as funny to me as taking on the powerful. Like the math of it doesn't work for me. Like to take on some marginalized people, make fun of that. Listen, I'm all for humor. I can defend it, but that mathematically, that's why you don't see a lot of comedy that comes out of the right. It's hard to do. I'm not suggesting you cannot. It's just difficult to do because of the dynamics.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan would never in a million years poke fun at Peter Thiel. And it's completely pathetic. It's no longer about one bad podcast. It's about a compromised creative posture. The relationship with power precedes the failure. The failure was always coming. Zach names Greg Gutfeld directly.
It's just difficult to do because of the dynamics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Greg Gutfeld. What a hilarious guy.
When comedians stop being able to punch up, they stop being comedians. They become something else. And the internet has a name for what that something else is. This story isn't about Rogan having a bad podcast. It's about what happens when comedians trade independence for proximity to power. The court jester's authority comes entirely from having no stake in the king's reputation. The moment you need the king to like you, the moment you need the access, the invite, the relationship, the jester's crown comes off. That's not a political observation. That's structural. It's happened in every era of fame and power. The internet just made the documentation instantaneous and permanent. Remember the claim? Trump could be a comedian in another lifetime. The funniest president of all time. Now apply Zach's definition of the comedian's job. Challenge the powerful. Make them uncomfortable. Never fake laugh for the king. By that definition, the funniest thing Rogan ever said about Trump was that he'd be a great comedian. Because Trump cannot joke about himself. He cannot be the butt of the bit. He punches down and gets sensitive when anyone punches back. By Zach's math, that's not comedy. By Rogan's math, that is comedy. Rogan, Schulz, and Theo didn't lose their credibility as comedians. They revealed they never had any to begin with. As always, it's the glitched system. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.